that the people who are screaming so loudly about President Trump's decision to audit federal spending are the very same people under President Biden who wanted to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns to audit the American people.
As the storms swirled around the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk in particular, there were a few great voices in Congress who actually stood up and defended the entire operation. One of them also happens to be a favorite of this program. The fine senator from the great state of Louisiana, you know him, you love him, Senator John Kennedy. He made a pretty important point there on the floor of the Senate.
It strikes me as breathtakingly ironic. The cynic might say cynical, that the people who are screaming so loudly about President Trump's decision to audit federal spending are the very same people under President Biden who wanted to hire 80,000 new IRS agents with guns to audit the American people. As I've said before, if it weren't for double standards, there wouldn't be any standards at all in this town. The battle lines are drawn, Mr. President. The battle lines are drawn. Some of my colleagues have decided to support the bureaucracy and the spending porn over the American taxpayer. That's what they've done. And some of the same people, it's not just my Democratic colleagues, there are many people in Washington, D.C. that have grouped together and they've circled the wagons and they've decided to support the spending porn and the bureaucrats over the American taxpayer. That's their right. It's not against the law or unconstitutional to be foolish in America. But these are the same people. These are the same people who chose to support illegal immigration over the rule of law.
Yeah, he always says just the right thing, and even better, he says it just the right way. And that first point was probably the most important. Everyone who has their hair on fire and are screaming about a basic audit function over the vast, corrupt, and wasteful bureaucracy of the federal government, they were more than happy to spend billions of dollars to hire over 80,000 armed IRS agents to come and audit you and your personal finances. It seems like their perspective on what's most important is a little skewed in Washington, D.C. Kennedy was so good that the bookers on Fox News wanted him this morning, and he delivered, as he always does.
Senator John Kennedy, Republican out of Louisiana. Sir, good morning to you. I don't know if you thought you would ever live to see the day where Washington would go in the other direction. Now, the judges are slowing it down. It takes some time to move through the courts, but this is going to happen. Do you believe it will be enough to exact change permanently in Washington, D.C.?
I certainly hope so. Here's what I see. Look, I'm unapologetically with Trump and Musk. Now, among the blue hairs and the opinion writers in Washington, we're losing. We're winning with the American people. And I think, Bill and Dana, the big picture should not go unnoticed. Some people, mostly my Democratic colleagues, have chosen to support the bureaucracy and the spending porn over the American taxpayer. These are the same folks who chose to support illegal immigration over the rule of law, who chose to support teachers' unions over schools and kids, who chose to support criminals over crime victims, who chose to support transgender athletes over women's sports, frankly, who chose to support Hamas over Israel. Now, they think they're winning. And they may be in the bubble of Washington, but not among the taxpayers. When they tell me, well, we think we're winning, I tell them, sure, and be on the lookout for flying pigs. I think the justice stick is coming, and I think the American people support everything we're doing.
Yeah, that's a man who's speaking from a position of confidence, and I think he's right too. It's been said before, but it needs to be repeated, that Trump continues to land on these 80-20 issues in America on the 80% side. And not only is he driving those issues home right now and scoring with them and succeeding and actually delivering, appealing to that 80% of this country who agree, but for some reason he has somehow hypnotized the left. He has sort of put them into some sort of mindless trance where they are just instinctively, reflexively standing their ground on that 20% issue, willing to die on the hill of that 20% issue. Everything that Kennedy just laid out there for you, from illegal immigration to Israel and Hamas to transgender activists invading women's sports to government waste, fraud, and abuse, the Democrats continue to land on that side of it. And no one better represents that sort of brain dead politics of the last Trump presidency, where maybe it worked back then because enough doubt was sown in the American people's minds that, geez, maybe Trump did steal the election thanks to Vladimir Putin. I mean, all the smart people in town told us that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and I'm glad she didn't, but maybe there was something weird there. So we're not all in on Trump. Let's just wait and see what they uncover. And so Democrats seized on that, and they had this permanent policy of investigation and obstruction and special prosecutors and spying and impeachment and outrage, and everything's turned to 11. And this is a 5-alarm fire no matter what Trump did or said or tweeted. And it was chaos. Well, this time around, you've got a Trump administration and the American people who know full damn well that this is exactly what they want. He won. He won against all odds. He won. They didn't even want him on the ballot. They tried to keep his name off the ballot, remember, in multiple states. They tried to put him in jail. They threw the FBI at his home in the middle of the night. They riled up people in such a psychotic frenzy that a couple of people even tried to assassinate him. And the American people said, no, really, this is what we want. And yet these Democrats on Capitol Hill continue to play the same game that they played 10 years ago from when he came down that golden escalator, and none of it's working. And the very perfect example of this happened in the House of Representatives yesterday. The Government Oversight Committee, it was. Jamie Raskin, who was the poster child for this mentality that I just laid out for you, that I just described. He continued. He's still fighting the last impeachment battle. He's still trying to subpoena investigate Donald Trump. He wants a special prosecutor today. This is how Jamie Raskin is. But I want you to see what he had to say about government efficiency and Doge and Elon Musk. It's the same old playbook. But let's see what this brave woman, this witness in front of Raskin at this hearing, this was one of the most beautiful moments you'll see in our constitutional republic, where we, the people, really are in charge. Watch this.
He and his mutant teenage racist computer hackers have taken possession of financial payment systems at the United States Department of Treasury, meaning data access to the private financial records of every American citizen, every member of Congress, every federal prosecutor, every regulator who's supposed to be looking at what his business does. And what have the courts been saying? They've said a dozen times in 3 weeks that they're violating the Constitution of the United States and the laws passed by Congress. That's what's going on in America today. That's what we should be having a hearing about, not some airy academic conversation about the administrative state.
And the fact that, Mr. Raskin, you're here this whole time we've been here, you've just been complaining about the process. I'll call it a process. And again, I'm not disagreeing with your issues right now around Musk and the process that's following Mr. Vladek, the process that you're following. At some point, what is the end game? Isn't the end game to make us, the American people, better off? Isn't it? Isn't it? No, I hear you saying that the stuff that would make us better off doesn't matter. All you care about right now is a process of Musk and his associates are not doing this the right way. the goal. Is the goal moral and right or not? If you say it is, as I think you should be saying, then the fight shouldn't be about, we need to take Musk down or Trump down. Let us rethink that if you want, but keep your eye on the ball, and your ball should be me. It should be me. I'm sorry, it should be me.
Yeah.
It should be me. How do we make me better off? Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
You bet. And by me, you mean the American people.
That's what I mean by.
Yeah, that's right. And by the way, let me put her back up here. Her name, by the way, because I'm sure you're all wondering, is Magatte Wade. She is from Senegal. And she made such a blisteringly obvious, clear, and logical common sense point there that crystallizes exactly what you're seeing right now, not just in Washington, D.C., the big tent circus that I live in, but what you're seeing play out in your media, on your broadcasting cable news networks right now, as the hysteria reaches a fevered pitch. Understand that the Democrats are not stepping up and saying, listen, we do have problems in our government, and we do have things that are worth auditing, and we do need to shut down these programs, and we do need to root out the waste. We do need to root out the fraud, and we need to arrest the people guilty of fraud and abuse because they're stealing money from our treasury and they're stealing money from the American taxpayer. You're not hearing any of that. They could be saying all of that, and at the same time, they could be saying, however, I take issue with the way President Trump and Elon Musk are going about it. So the cause is righteous. They have a noble calling. And we want them to be effective in what they're doing, so we'll work with you to do it the right way. But that's not what they're saying. They're pretending like their problem is the process, but the problem really isn't the process because they're not saying anything in support of the actual end goal, in the morality of what is actually being accomplished here. And it took this woman born in Africa, born in Senegal, to point it out. You see, she's seen government corruption firsthand. She has seen waste, fraud, and abuse that reaches the levels of absolute corrupt theft from poor individuals who die starving because their government is so ineffective and so corrupt and so careless with people's lives. It takes people born in foreign dysfunctional countries to really see the path that we're headed down here in the United States of America. And she just said it better than anyone else could. She spoke yesterday, as Jim Jordan pointed out, for all of us. When she says me, she means the American people. Yes, she spoke for me better than anyone who calls themselves a representative. In fact, I live very near where Jamie Raskin actually represents. I live in the same state that Jamie Raskin represents. And I assure you, when you look at that screen right in front of you, it is that black woman from Africa who represents me better than anyone else you see on the screen. Her name is Magatte Wade. I don't know where she lives in America right now, but wherever it is, Ms. Wade, you have my vote and my political contribution, because I would love to see you sitting on the other side of that table, right next to Jamie Raskin someday. Please think about it. You've seen the news from economists forecasting a depression, not a recession, a depression by the year 2030. Why? Well, because we got a perfect storm of Social Security and Medicare hitting a breaking point with the largest generation hitting retirement, and then a smaller workforce, meaning a smaller tax base. You add that to the growing national debt and then the rising cost of living, and well, it's a big problem. And there's a lot of it that's out of your control. But what is in your control? What you do now to protect your family for the future. Gold can be a safe haven in hard economic times, and Birch Gold makes it easy to diversify a portion of your savings into physical gold. Birch Gold can help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. Protect your future right now. Text Larry, my name, Larry, L-A-R-R-Y, to 989898. Get your free info kit on gold and a copy of the Ultimate Guide for Gold in the Trump Era with a foreword written by Donald Trump Jr. That's free. There's no obligation, only information. Text my name, Larry, L-A-R-R-Y, to 989898. Do it today.